Guys, I'm back and I'm getting ready to do the origin story of your girl Harley Quinn. We were actually introduced to Harley Quinn on 9/11 of 1993. Pretty strange, right? And she didn't make her way into the comic book world. She first appeared in the animated series in 1993, as I mentioned before. Now, for those who don't know, Harley Quinn is actually from Brooklyn. So BK, stand up one time. Your girl is from Brooklyn. That can explain why she's so savage. And she was the oldest out of 4 kids, and she was the only girl. And when growing up, she was kind of bullied and picked on. They're like, oh, that's the girl with the cooties, don't play with her. And as she got older, she became really fascinated with criminal psychology. And I feel you, girl, because I like that shit too. So she would study like the Jeffrey Dahmers and your Ted Bundys and shit. And as she got older and when she reached high school, she felt like she was really misunderstood. So one night she decided to go to this Halloween party to normalize herself. And of course your girl was sitting on the damn couch, all like a damn loner, and she actually gets spotted by this boy named Bernie Bash. He like goes up to her and starts talking to her about his like dark interests and the time that he saw a dead body, and he was like describing the feeling and the look of it. And let's just say your girl got hooked and was interested. So you know, they over there caking it up at the party. So now we see Harley Quinn is at this party all booed up and caking with her new man Bernie. Bernie ends up becoming her first boyfriend and first like big love. And while they were at the party, Harley nudges Bernie and was like, you see that girl Bonnie over there? Well, that bitch is my bully and the things that I would like to see done to her. We discover later on that Bernie goes away from murder, and let's just say in the name of love, he ends up killing her bully Bonnie by throwing her out of the damn car in front of this like big ass truck, and your girl went splat. So he goes away for murder in prison, and your girl was so heartbroken that she snuck into Bernie's house where he lived with his mom and dad, and the dad was a taxidermist, and she finds this stuffed beaver, you know, the famous beaver that she talks to, and she keeps it as a keepsake to always remember her boo Bernie. Now we see a young teenage Harley Quinn, heartbroken, you know, because her boyfriend killed her bully, and he's doing time in prison, and she's keeping this dead beaver around to remember her boo by. And that's how the iconic Bernie the Beaver that she talks to and talks back to her throughout the comic book series and the movies was born. Y'all get it now? And we actually find out that Bernie dies in prison because, you know, your boy got shanked up. He didn't last too long in the prison system. And Harley Quinn had to move on, so she graduated high school and she goes on to study at Arkham University. Now she graduates top honors, y'all, the smartest chick in her class, and she starts working at the hospital. But your girl wasn't satisfied. She was like, you know what, I'm gonna go chase after my dream job. So your girl did. She bossed up. She actually got her dream position at working at Arkham Asylum because remember, she wants to get inside of a criminal mind. Now, while she was working there as a counselor, she realized her patients were not really opening up to her and she really couldn't get into their minds. So she had this idea like, how about if I become a patient there and I admit myself in as an inmate? Well, she had to beg the warden, and the warden said yes. So later on that night, she went home and she dyed her hair the iconic red and blue that you see, because your girl got to go undercover now. And while she was in Arkham Asylum as an inmate, she managed to trick and fool a lot of people. But, you know, of course, Joker figured her out real quick because that boy is smart. And she was really fascinated with getting into Joker's head. So, you know, Joker starts flirting with her. They start talking, you know, and he talking that good game to her because your girl starts catching feelings. And Joker promised Harley that I'm going to teach you how to become as powerful as me. So now Harley Quinn is getting closer to the Joker, and she is loving it because she always wanted to figure out the Joker, and she was just fascinated with how his mind works, and she felt like he was misdiagnosed and she could be the one to save him. Boy, was she wrong. Child, was she so wrong. And when she was undercover, her boss, like her supervisor, was like, okay, Harley, we giving you all this time. Let's see your notes. Let's see what you finding out here. And as she's reading her notes on the Joker, she discovers that her and the Joker were like flirting, and Harley started catching feelings. Now Harley catches her supervisor and was like, what you doing with my notes? And she was like, you falling in love, girl, like what the hell you doing? So she slaps the shit out of her and she tries to kill her supervisor, but she manages to escape and somehow she kills all the guards. And of course, you know, she couldn't leave Arkham Asylum without freeing her boo Joker. Everybody realized that Harley Quinn fell madly in love with the Joker and she done broke her boo out of the asylum. And the first place that Joker takes her is to the chemical plant, and he tells her, today's your birthday. This was the day that I was born, and throws her in the vat of chemical. And once she survives and comes out of it, of course, she has the pale white skin and the shit done altered her personality, and she went even more crazier than the Joker. And of course, they go on to have tons of crime spree together, and she is like obsessed with the Joker. And they go to Gotham Zoo where they stole these two hyenas that they named Bud and Lou. That is their pets, that's like their babies together. And of course they made crime history and they encounter Batman throughout the whole comic book series. But there was this one time the Joker grew tired of her and strapped their ass up to a rocket and tried to get rid of her. He felt like he was getting like a little bit too comfortable with her. And throughout the comic book series, we see a lot of mental and physical abuse, and Joker only uses her for his sexual desire. And we could talk all day on that, but let's keep going. So when the rocket actually goes up, it crashes and lands in Robinson Park, where Poison Ivy finds Harley Quinn and takes her in and takes care of her. And she was like, girl, what happened to you? You used to be my therapist. And she explained the whole story about how she fell in love with Joker. So she goes, don't worry, I got you. So her and Poison Ivy end up becoming best friends. And of course, as we know, they turn lovers. But Harley Quinn just keeps on going back to Joker throughout the comic book series. And that left Poison Ivy like unsure about their relationship. So she was like, I love you, boo, but you keep going back to that scum. I don't know what to do with you. And when she realizes Joker is nothing but a user and abuser, she finds her own way and she's becoming independent. She's starting to realize Joker ain't shit, y'all. But by then, Poison Ivy already has trust issues with her because she keeps going back to the Joker. And Poison Ivy's like, you always going to keep going back to him. You're a slave to him. She's like that friend that always talk about that scummy boyfriend, but then you see her all booed up on Instagram the next day like, wait a minute, wasn't we just talking shit about him? That's her. And she goes on through the comic book series to hook up with Deadshot, Red Tool, and she had like a whole thing with Nightwing Child, but that's a whole nother comic. And she goes on to prove herself to be crazier than Joker and have a life of crime that gets her in and out of jail. But of course she gets recruited for Suicide Squad and Gotham City Sirens and many other teams. Now she currently resides in Coney Island, where she lives with circus members that she calls her family. And of course she is very infamous for her baseball bat and her mallet. And that is the origin of Harley Quinn.